So here we have a new, slightly updated version of the instrument that me and Halldór Úlfarsson, or Dóri, are working on for the piece Dhorpma, which is an independent sequel to my Dhorpma works. So we've been designing these instruments, as I described in the last video, and yeah, it's slightly updated, but it's also slightly modified in the sense that it uses more basic components. It's not as in some way it is it doesn't everything is completely self-made, homemade, you know, because we used in the earlier version we used tuning heads from a bass guitar, which are really steady and really easy to use, but it's also an expensive and not very characteristic. It's not what we were looking for, because we were looking for something more down to earth, where you could have standard, something that you could build anywhere based on really simple description, and without having to have expensive components that are designed for a different instrument, but something that could, you know, the idea is that you just take the string, you get it into the tune, and you even, you know, you use one of these to get it really, you know, in tune, just to, you know, just to hold the tension. And so this is actually, it's like it's just stuff that you can get at a hardware store. It's these loops, I don't know what they're called, and then on the other side you have these screws that you can screw with your hands, but it's actually more steady if you use the plier. And we also changed the can. Now we have a slightly bigger can that's resonating at slightly deeper frequencies, but it's not a huge difference. We're going from 8.5 centimeters to like 10, so it's not a really big change. But I find that it resonates best around between 200 and 300 hertz, which is like the somewhere between the lowest and the middle and the highest frequencies in Dhorpma, because there are 3 sets of frequencies. There are 3 octaves of notes in somewhat of a cluster, with no repeats in each octave, but in a similar interval across 3 octaves. You know, within a third or a fourth, first octave and second and third octave, but none of the octaves have exactly the same tones. So there are new problems that emerge. First off, the tuning heads, you have better control of where you place the string. Yeah, like here you would maybe need an additional bridge, or somehow wind the strings so that you don't have this, you know, buzzing problem. Of course, that's the number one. And another thing that we were trying is that I wanted to have something that, because we want a strong sound, you know, strong, loud sound, you know, lots of amplitude, but not necessarily this nice kind of ring. Because I would rather want it to be dampened, to have very short notes, and we were trying out having copper wire, you know, so it's like, but it's really hard to get the tension so that it will make a clear sound. But having a slightly distorted and a duller sound is actually something I'd prefer. But it's hard to find the material that will both hold the tension, stay in tune, and, you know, be dampened, and it cannot be too distorted. It could be a little distorted, but not too much. You have to hear the pitch, and it has to have some kind of a clear harmonic content. But yeah, we're going to experiment with different elements, different even just wires, because preferably we'd use something that isn't manufactured as a string for a specific instrument, but something that you could possibly even just find at a hardware store, like everything else in the in it. So yeah, so we have to find out what kind of material would be interesting, and we probably want to try out different things, see how they sound, see the practicality of it too, and so any suggestions are more than welcome. And one other thing is that when we have a taller can here, there's more chances of the bridge just simply slipping away from the tension. So with the bigger can, we need it to be I don't know, either tilted or slightly more downwards. Dóri, he will know. Yeah, he's the specialist.